I figured out when an ex is most likely to reach out to you after a breakup, and today I'm going to give you an exact time frame of when you can expect that to happen. And the results from this study that I did kind of shocked me. But like all good things, we need to have a little bit of a discussion before I actually explain how this time frame works to you. So the biggest misconception I see people having pretty much across the industry revolves around the no contact rule. Specifically, if you enter the breakup niche, you're going to hear people peddling the no contact rule on you. Sometimes they'll say something like this: hey, use the no contact rule, make your ex come back. Or sometimes they'll say something like, hey, if you use the no contact rule, guess what? Your ex is like 10 times more likely to reach out to you. But is that actually true? Well, in certain cases it is. Take this client who recently posted in our private Facebook support group about her experience during the no contact rule. As you can see, quite effective. Her ex reaches out to her. Yet, where the argument falls apart is when you survey all of our clients. Now, I've been blessed with having over 7,500 people interact in a Facebook group that basically is helping people through breakups, where they want to get over their ex or get their exes back. Well, a few years ago, I happened to ask these people, hey, for those of you who have done the no contact rule, how many of your exes reached out to you during it? Well, close to 62% of the respondents to this poll said that their ex did not reach out to them during the no contact rule. So everyone who's saying that the no contact rule actually raises your chances of having an ex actually reach out to you, well, it's not true. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the no contact rule doesn't work. It still very much is a core foundational principle that you should be engaging in after a breakup. But what I'm more interested in is why specifically exes are not reaching out to you during the no contact rule. I think it has something to do with avoidant attachment styles. Now, as you can see here, most of our clients believe that their exes are avoidant by nature. Now, avoidant natures tend to be very individualistic. Their core wound is losing independence. So anytime they enter into a relationship with someone who is trying to take that independence away, they're going to break away. Now, one of my favorite resources with regards to talking about avoidant attachment styles is this website called freetoattach.com. And freetoattach.com talks about this really interesting concept called separation elation. Here's how it works. After a relationship ends, people with an avoidant attachment style tend not to show much anxiety or distress, often feeling an initial sense of relief at relinquishing of obligations in the sense that they're regaining their self-identity and not tending to initially miss their partner. This is called separation elation, as the pressure to connect is gone. So a lot of times, one of the reasons that I think people or exes specifically are not reaching out to you during the no contact rule is because they're literally going through this separation elation factor. So essentially, they go through the breakup and they are just enjoying the fact that they have gained their independence back. So this is probably why you're not hearing from them during the no contact rule. But let's take things a step further. Because if we're really going to try to understand when your ex is most likely to reach out to you after a breakup, we need to understand what the life and death of a relationship looks like from an avoidant perspective, assuming your ex is an avoidant. So what I'm going to throw up on the screen right now is what I call the death cycle wheel. Now, if you've watched my YouTube channel or read any of my articles or even listened to any of my podcast episodes, this is a concept that I talk about a lot. It's basically 8 stages that talk about what an avoidance experience is like in a relationship. So the 8 stages are as follows. The avoidant wants someone to love them. They find someone who they think is the new person. They start to notice worrying things about that new person, usually any type of insecure attachment behaviors. They start contemplating leaving. They decide to actually leave. They become happy that they left, they feel lonely, and then they're starting to feel sad that they can't ever seem to find the right person, and that leads them back to the very beginning of the cycle. And so every relationship they have falls victim to this wheel. And sometimes that's rebounds, they go from relationship to relationship, but sometimes that's relationships with you, where they come back to you and you have this on again, off again cycle. You are literally caught in this cycle. Now, I've talked about this a lot, almost ad nauseum on this YouTube channel, but one thing I've really never done is to use real life data to show you exactly how long each of these stages last. So, me being me, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Here's the problem. I am ashamed to admit that after having 7,500 people who have purchased my programs, who are in a Facebook group, who I can literally contact, I actually don't know the average amount of time they were with their ex. Embarrassing. Well, I asked them. So I go to my private Facebook support group and I ask them the following question. How long was your relationship with your ex before you broke up? Now, after a day, only 75 of these 7,500 people responded. What's up with that? But 75 is still a good number. And I'm gonna save you the annoying part of putting up every single one of their answers, because 75 answers is a lot, and it took me over 30 minutes to sit there with this phone to calculate an average. And this is where things really started to shock me. The average time our clients were with their exes was 46 months, almost 4 years, with a high of 288 months, 24 years, and a low of 1 month. I gotta say, 4 years was not what I was expecting. But what I think happened, since our sample size is kind of small here, is that some of the outliers, like the 24 years, the 288 month thing you're seeing here, sort of raised the time frame up. So I sat back and started thinking, should I actually do this calculation on the death cycle wheel using 4 years, or should I try to look at what the most common answer was? And I decided it was a lot more realistic for people to just simply use the most common answer. And the most common answer was that most of our clients' relationships lasted anywhere between 9 months and 12 months before a breakup initially occurred. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm going to take the relationship death cycle wheel and go through each simple stage and tell you how long that stage takes and what stage your ex is most likely to reach out to you after a breakup. But the first thing we need to do is divide the circle in half. So the first 4 stages we're gonna call sort of the relationship stage. This is before the breakup happens. Stages 5 through 8 are gonna be considered the breakup stage. All right, so what you see up on your screen right here is a color-coded version of this wheel. We have sort of the green, the dark green, the ugly vomit green, yellow, orange, and red stages. Each of these is going to be encompassing a different time period. So let's first start with stage 1, which I've highlighted in a light green, and I like to call it the honeymoon period. Now the 2 stages of this wheel are going to be the I want someone to love me and oh, I found someone, my troubles are over. Now the honeymoon phase, depending on how long your relationship ultimately lasts, is probably gonna last anywhere between 6 to 7 months. But let's just cut it even, lower the average down and say 6 months. So the first 2 stages take 6 months to go around this wheel. The second stage, which is highlighted in just a darker green, is what I like to call the anxious trigger stage. Now the anxious trigger stage is where your ex, the avoidant, starts to notice any kind of insecure attachment tendencies you have and use that and begin to pollute the relationship. Usually we find this happening right around 7 to 8 months. All right, so we're 8 months almost into the relationship, 7 months almost into the relationship. We've only been through 3 stages. Stage 3 is what I like to call the avoidant trigger stage. That is in the vomit green because yes, it wants to make you vomit with how stupid this stage is. But eventually, this is where the avoidant becomes triggered. Your anxious tendencies become too much for the avoidant. They start sitting there and thinking, can I do better? I'm thinking of leaving this relationship. Stage 3, ladies and gentlemen. And then of course, color-coded stage 4, which is gonna be the yellow stage, encompasses 2 parts of the wheel, which is the no contact part and the separation elation part. You're gonna find this happening anywhere between 10 months to 11 months since the start of your relationship. Now, what is this? Well, most of the time, our clients are using the no contact rule immediately after a breakup. So they go into no contact immediately after a breakup. But their exes don't reach out to them because they're going through that separation elation aspect of their avoidant tendency. So your ex leaves the relationship, yay, they left the relationship. Then they start thinking, oh, I'm so happy that they left. You're doing the no contact rule throughout this entire stage, but they're happy. They're not in a place where they think they need to reach out to you first. That happens around month 12 to 13 since the start of your relationship, which is going to be what I call the depression stage, which is the orange stage. This is where they start to feel sorry for themselves. The grass is greener syndrome proved not to be so great. They grow depressed, which leads them very seamlessly into stage I guess that's 6 here with the color-coded version. That's the red stage. This is also known as the nostalgia stage, where they start thinking, why can't I ever find the right person? Oh, I know, I did have the right person. It was my ex. So on the wheel, the orange stage and the red stage are those stages that your ex is most likely to reach out to you. So that can happen anywhere between 12 to 14 months since the start of your relationship. But I've made this unnecessarily complicated. Let's just talk about, on average, how long it's gonna take your ex to reach out to you after a breakup. Now, it's really important to bear in mind here that every single person has a unique situation and their circumstances are, generally speaking, going to be different. But on average, you can expect your ex to reach out to you anywhere between 90 to 120 days after the breakup. So 3 months to 4 months after the breakup is when your ex is most likely going to reach out to you. But that number seemed really, really high, to me at least. I have certainly seen multiple scenarios where exes have reached out much sooner. So I decided to check my work. Remember, this is all based on data I found within our private Facebook support group. But what if that data is wrong? So I decided to go to public forums like Reddit and Quora and look for people asking the exact question we're posing here. On average, how many days does it take for an ex to reach out to you? And when I averaged all of the answers together, I got 866 days. There were lows of, 1 day, and there were highs of 8 years. Frustrating. So it's even higher for people that are not in our program. I don't think that has anything to do with our program, but what I think it does have to do with the importance of understanding the avoidant mindset. Most of these people who are probably going to be going online asking this question, I don't want to diagnose their exes as avoidant, but it's probably likely that their ex has more avoidant tendency. And if that's the case, their ex is naturally going to take longer to reach out to them. And we're just seeing that on a grander scale here. All this proves is a point that I've been trying to make for years, which is stop worrying about who reaches out to who first. That doesn't matter. What matters isn't who starts the conversation, it's who ends it.